are live. We are live. Hello, 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 hello. Come on in. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. Come on in to the room. I'm trying to make sure that the volume is all the way down on this so that I don't get a feedback. But hello, it is time to tag and share. Let's everybody please share, including me, that book club is starting. So I'm going to take 60 seconds and I'm going to go ahead and grab the link to book club as you are logging on. Let us know what city, what state, what country you might be logging in from. And we definitely need you all to tag and share. Find somebody that you love and you like and let them know that we are live on book club, right? Book club is the place to be here on Mondays, you guys, because you can never pour from an empty cup. And the one thing that we know, one of the reasons why book club is so important is because leaders are readers. And if we desire for our lives to elevate, especially here at the top of 2024, this is our first book club of 2024. If you are excited, let me know. We are live. We are live on book club, right? Are live on book club. Click the link. Click the link. We got to make sure that, we are our brothers and our sisters keeper, and we don't want anybody to miss book club because we're never going to earn more than we learn. So it's very important that we are all here. And you know what? The importance of being together is that we are learning and growing together so that we all have the same mind. When people go to war together, they go to war together and they march in unison. They are dressed all alike, right? And because that is to help to teach everybody to have one mind, one sound, one band. All right, you guys. And so while I am sharing, I would hope that you all are sharing as well to let people know that it is time for book club, so that we can learn and grow together. And I am going to share it one more time to 2 more pages. And then we're going to get popping. Y'all ready? Are y'all excited? I'm excited. So while you are all sharing this link to your separate group pages and team pages and sharing it with your family and or your friends, let me know what you all did over the holiday. What did you do? Did you stay home? Was it quiet? Did you have family over? Did you cook? Did you travel? Are you just grateful for the gift of life? I know for me and my house, although we did do a little traveling and the family was over with us, we are just grateful for life, for health, for strength, for the ability to see, for the ability to think, for the ability to just walk on our own, to talk on our own. The things that we take for granted, we are so grateful. And we are so grateful for each and every one of you who would think it not robbery to be here on book club. And so remember that you should be subscribing to this channel as well so that you never ever miss an event that we have live here on book club. And so for those of you that have been with us for a while now, you know that we are reading Think and Grow Rich. Now we are going to do some jumping around because we're almost at we're closer to the end than the beginning, right? And we are finishing up chapter 8. Chapter 8, chapter 7, and chapter 8 were very lengthy chapters. Now here's what we want you to know about our book club. Listen, if this is your first time being here on book club with us, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the chat if it's your first time. We definitely want to send you a shout out. You are our VIP tonight, and we want to give you a very warm book club welcome. All right? Warm book club welcome. That's right. Don't forget to thumbs up this live. Thank you so much, Lady Heart. How cool. Now, listen to what we need you to do. We need you to hashtag right now in the chat, good reads, right? We need you to hashtag good reads. We need you to hashtag booktube, and we need you to hashtag book talk. All right. So welcome, Jaliha. I believe you've been following me on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think it's been Instagram, I believe. And if not Instagram, it's been TikTok, but I remember seeing you following me on social media. Debbie, it's your first time. Welcome. So hashtag Goodreads, hashtag booktube, and hashtag booktalk. Booktalk. T-O-K. Booktalk. Okay. So, like I said, you don't even need the book. I'm going to read this for you. Now, do I suggest that you get the book? Yes, I do. I don't know. I keep hearing a feedback, and I just want to make sure that you guys are not hearing a feedback. Okay. Do I suggest that you get the book? I do. But you don't have to. I don't want you to feel that it's an expense for yourself. All right. You can also get the books like on Abe Books, ABE Books, or Thrift Books. Don't go spending a lot of money on these books, okay? Because I am going to read it for you. If you go and get the book, it will just be so that you can have it for your reference. I am reading the large print, or else we would not be able to get through this. But, oh, Lady Heart, welcome, welcome, welcome. So many first timers here today. We want to make sure that this is not an expense for you. We want this to be an enjoyable place for you. Now, listen, I am going to go ahead and give you this. Let me go ahead and let you know right up front. These books give us gut punches. Okay? So I want you to know this. Don't hate the messenger. Be mad at the message. Okay? I am just the messenger. But these books will give us some gut punches. But here's what you want. Oh, it's Shelly. Hey, Shelly. What you need to know is this. These gut punches are going to help us go to the next level. So let's embrace the jab, uppercuts, okay, as we're going through these books, because at the end of these books, we're going to be a better version of ourselves. So freedom or death on a decision. Freedom or death on a decision. The value of decisions depends upon the courage required to render them. The value of decisions depends upon the courage required to render them. The great decisions which served as foundation of civilization were reached by assuming great risks, which often meant the possibility of death. Lincoln's decision to issue his famous Proclamation of Emancipation, which gave freedom to the colored people of America, was rendered with full understanding that his act would turn thousands of friends and political supporters against him. He knew, too, that the carrying out of this proclamation would mean death to thousands of men on the battlefield. In the end, it cost Lincoln his life. That required courage. You know, it's almost like we've got to think, Shelly, like, are we really ready to die for what we believe? Like, are we that convinced, Robin? Are we that convinced, Deborah, Tedra, Alicia, that we're so convinced that we're willing to die or stand up for what we say we believe? Most of us are willing to stand up until it's going to cost us something, right? So this is freedom or death on a decision. Because could it be that our freedom is tied up? Our freedom is tied up because we don't want to die to a decision that we might need to make, right? Does that make sense? Let me get this screen out of the camera. Is that better, Paul? To push that, is that better that I pushed it out of the camera? Well, I can see it. I just want to make, no, I'm fine. I just want to make sure that, okay. Well, there we go. There we go. We good now. Okay, we good. We should be good now. I think it's out the camera. All right, y'all. I don't know. That was just bothering me seeing that in the camera. All right. It was probably going to bother Mr. Moore later on too. That screen was, because he'll look at this video and say, darn, that screen was in the camera the whole time. All right. Or you want me to move it over some more? Oh, I won't have to reach it. I won't have to reach it. Okay. So what about the time? Hit the thumbs up. That's right. Hit that thumbs up button for me, you guys, and subscribe. So Lincoln's decision to issue his infamous Proclamation of Emancipation, which gave freedom to colored people, right? And it cost him his life, and that required courage. Socrates' decision to drink the cup of poison rather than compromise in his personal belief was a decision of courage. It turned time ahead 1,000 years and gave to people then unborn the right to freedom of thought and of speech. The decision of General Robert E. Lee, when he came to the parting of the way with the Union and took up the cause of the South, was a decision of courage, for he well knew that it might cost him his own life, that it would surely cost the lives of others. But the greatest decision of all time, as far as any American citizen is concerned, was reached in Philadelphia, July the 4th, 1776, when 56 men signed their names to a document which they well knew would bring freedom to all Americans or leave every one of the 56 hanging from a gallows. You have heard of the famous document, but you may not have drawn from it the great lesson in personal achievement it so plainly taught. We all remember the date of this momentous decision, but few of us realize what courage that decision required. We remember our history as it was taught. We remember dates and the names of the men who fought. We remember Valley Forge and Yorktown. We remember George Washington and Lord Cornwallis, but we know little of the real forces back of these names, dates, and places. We know still less of that intangible power which ensured us freedom long before Washington's armies reached Yorktown. We read the history of revolution and falsely imagine that George Washington was the father of our country, that it was he who won our freedom, while the truth is Washington was only an accessory after the fact, because victory for his armies had been ensured long before Lord Cornwallis surrendered. This is not intended to rob Washington of any of the glory he so richly merited. Its purpose, rather, is to give greater attention to the astounding power that was the real cause of his victory. It is nothing short of tragedy that the writers of history have missed entirely, even the slightest reference to the irresistible power which gave birth and freedom to the nation destined to set up new standards of independence for all the peoples of the earth. I say it is a tragedy because it is the self-same power which must be used by every individual who surmounts the difficulties of life and forces life to pay the price asked for. There is a price. Type the words in the chat, price. There is a price that we must pay when we say that there are greater things that we desire out of life. I am here to tell you that the greater the dream, the greater the... What price are you willing to pay for what you say you want? I'm not stuck. The signal isn't bad. I want you to marinate on that. We're always excited when we think about the prize, but we're never excited about the process to the prize. What price are you willing to pay for what you say you want? Or once you get along that process, do we say, I got to back down? That costs me too much. Oh, that's going to cost me some sleep. Oh, that's going to cost me some money. Oh, that's going to cost me some sacrifice. Oh, that's going to make me miss the parties and the... Too many people are not willing to sacrifice short-term gain. Right? Let us briefly review the events which gave birth to this power. The story begins with an incident in Boston, March the 5th, 1770. British soldiers were patrolling the streets by their presence, openly threatening the citizens. The colonists resented army men marching in their midst. They began to express their resentment openly, hurling stones as well as epithets at the marching soldiers until the commanding officer gave orders, fix bayonets, charge, right? The battle was on. It resulted in the death and injury of many. The incident aroused such resentment that the provincial assembly, made up of prominent colonists, called a meeting for the purpose of taking definite action. Two of the members of the assembly were John Hancock and Samuel Adams. Long live their names. They spoke up courageously and declared that a move must be made to eject all British soldiers from Boston. Remember this. A decision in the minds of two men might properly be called the beginning of the freedom which we of the United States now enjoy. Remember, too, that the decision of these two men called for faith and courage because it was dangerous. I really hope that we are hearing what's going on with our history that we just have read right over, because you know why? We needed to learn it to pass a test. We needed to learn it to get out of the 5th grade. Somewhere around there, right? 4th, 5th grade, maybe 6th grade. A decision in your mind might properly be called the beginning of freedom. How many of you are one decision away from the freedom that you say that you want? But it is going to call for faith. Type in the word faith in the chat. It is going to call for courage because it just might be dangerous. It just might not feel good. It just might mean you got to change the way you eat and change the way you think and change what you do. It's going to call for faith, courage, and it just might be dangerous. Before the assembly adjourned, Samuel Adams was appointed to call on the governor of the province, Hutchinson, and demand the withdrawal of the British troops. The request was granted. The troops were removed from Boston, but the incident was not closed. It had caused a situation destined to change the entire trend of civilization. Strange is it now how the great changes, such as the American Revolution and the World War, often have their beginnings in circumstances which seem unimportant. It is interesting also to observe that these important changes usually begin in the form of a definite decision in the minds of a relatively small number of people. For few of us know the history of our country well enough to realize that John Hancock, Samuel Adams, and Richard Henry Lee of the province of Virginia were the real fathers of our country. Richard Henry Lee became an important factor in this story by the reason of the fact that he and Samuel Adams communicated frequently by correspondence, sharing freely their fears and their hopes concerning the welfare of the people of their provinces. From this practice, Adams conceived the idea that a mutual exchange of letters between the 13 colonies might help to bring about the coordination of efforts so badly needed in the connection with the solution of their problems. 2 years after the clash with the soldiers in Boston, March of 1772, Adams presented this idea to the assembly in the form of a motion that a correspondence committee be established among the colonies with definitely appointed correspondents in each colony for the purpose of friendly cooperation for the betterment of the colonies of British America. Pause. Do you realize that all of these things took so long to manifest because they had to write letters and send them by people on horses to other states that were hundreds of miles away? We're looking, well, dang, that took 2 years. Something that now people could fly all together, be in the same room at the same time, and all sign a document at the same time. And if they can't be there, they can do it digitally. So when we're looking at why it took so long for these things to happen, 1770 to 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia, that is because we can't even wait a day or a week or 90 days or a year for God to answer us. But they had to wait 6 years for a document to get signed for this thing we call freedom now. Are we really free? Or are we really imprisoned by the decisions that we won't make that could free us and give us liberty for everything that we desire because we're too afraid to step aside and do something that we've never done before, like jump and grow wings on the way down? We would much rather be in bondage and in prison to our own thoughts and fears because it just feels much better. Because even if you have lack, at least you know that you have lack. And you've now gotten so numb to this way of being that it's okay to just stay and remain in a state that you were never called to be in. I want you to think. I want you to think. Mark well this incident. It was the beginning of the organization of the far-flung power destined to give freedom to you and me. The mastermind had already been organized. It consisted of Adams, Lee, and Hancock. I tell you further that if you two agree upon the earth concerning anything for which you ask, it will come to you from my Father who is in heaven. I will tell you further, says Napoleon Hill, if two of you would come into agreement here on the earth concerning anything for which you ask, it will come to you from my Father who is in heaven. If two of you here on the earth, see, let me tell you something. Here's the problem. When you are having doubt, when you are having a rough patch in your business, in your life, in your marriage, in your whatever, right, in your emotions, instead of going to somebody and the two of you coming into agreement, you get on the phone to call somebody to complain about how your situation is. I don't know what's going on with my business right now. And then you get on the phone and you start spewing that. Instead of the two of you coming together in agreement, asking the Father, which is in heaven, two of you coming into agreement, but we say we believe and we know the word, but we won't do the word. Could it be why we don't have what we say that we want? Because we don't activate the word. We don't activate the faith. We don't activate the word. We just, you know what? It's just much better, much easier to call somebody and get them to lick our wounds with us. Because basically, you want them to now, because you might be calling somebody else that's having success. Because you would much rather, misery loves company. You would much rather them be sitting there right where you are. See, it's real. The chat is super quiet right now, Paul. Ain't nobody. It's just like crickets. The committee of correspondence was organized. Observe that this move provided the way for increasing the power of the mastermind. The power of the mastermind. Come together and let's talk about what things we can collectively do as to move this ship forward. Speaking those things that are not as though they are. Agreeing and then calling out to my Father that's in heaven that it shall be done. We get together to talk and to gossip, but we won't get together to pray. We are two agreed. I don't know what's going on with my and I don't know what's going on with my business. And don't nobody want to buy nothing. And ain't nobody this and ain't nobody that. And you know, they ain't gonna do this and they ain't gonna do that. And it's the moments that you speak those words out of your mouth, you're right. Because what you think about, you bring about. Right? Provided the way for increasing the power of the mastermind. By adding it to the men from all of the colonies, take notice that this procedure constituted the first organized planning of the disgruntled colonist. In union, there is strength. I want you to write that in the chat. Everybody ought to make that a Facebook, Instagram post, like in your stories everywhere. In union, there is strength. In a union, there is strength. That's what the book says. In union, there is strength. The citizens of the colonies had been waging this organized warfare against the British soldiers through incidents similar to the Boston riot, but nothing of the benefit had been accomplished. Their individual grievances had not been consolidated under one mastermind. No group of individuals had put their hearts, minds, souls, and bodies together in one definite decision. To settle their difficulty with the British once and for all, until Adams, Hancock, and Lee got together. And they got together and they said, Christina, we got to make this one definite decision. What if everybody would get together and say, we got to make this definite decision to walk as one. This definite decision. Because in union, there is strength. In union, there is strength. Meanwhile, the British were not idle. They too were doing some planning and masterminding on their own account, with the advantage of having back of them money and organized soldiery. The Crown appointed Gage to supplant Hutchinson as the governor of Massachusetts. One of the new governor's first acts was to send a messenger to call on Samuel Adams for the purpose of endeavoring to stop his opposition by fear. See? So here you go, getting on the phone with people, right? And because you afraid, fear to other people. Instead of calling somebody and saying, I'm in this precarious place right now, but because I believe that two gathered together in one accord, together, we can come and bombard the heavens and change the outcome. We can best understand the spirit of what happened by quoting the conversation between Gage and Adams. Colonel Fenton, I have been authorized by Governor Gage to assure you, Mr. Adams, that the governor has been empowered to confer upon you such benefits as he would be satisfactory. Endeavor to win Adams by promise of bribes, upon the condition that you engage to cease in your opposition to the measures of the government. It is the governor's advice to you, sir, not to incur the further displeasure of his such as makes you liable to penalties of an act of Henry the 13th, by which persons can be sent to England for trial for treason, or misprision of treason at the discretion of the governor of a province. But by changing your political course, you will not only receive great personal advantages, but you will make your peace with the king. Samuel Adams had the choice of two decisions. Type it in the chat, two decisions. He could cease his opposition and receive those personal bribes, or he could continue and run the risk of being hanged. Clearly, the time had come when Adams was forced to reach instantly a decision which could have cost his life. The majority of men would have found it difficult to reach such a decision. The majority would have sent back an evasive reply, but not Adams. He insisted upon Colonel Fenton's word of honor that the colonel would deliver to the governor the answer exactly as Adams would give it to him. Adams's answer was this: then you may tell Governor Gage that I trust I have long since made my peace with the King of Kings, the King of Kings. No personal consideration shall induce me to abandon the righteous cause of my country. And tell Governor Gage, it is the advice of Samuel Adams to him to no longer to insult the feelings of an exasperated people. Comment as to the character of this man seems unnecessary. It must be obvious to all who read this astounding message that its sender possessed loyalty of the highest order. This is important. Racketeers and dishonest politicians have prostituted the honor for which such men as Adams died. When Governor Gage received Adams's caustic reply, he flew into a rage and issued a proclamation which read, I do hereby in his majesty's name offer a promise, his most gracious pardon to all persons who shall forthwith lay down their arms and return to the duties of peaceable subjects, accepting only from the benefit of such pardon Samuel Adams and John Hancock, whose offenses are too flagitious, a nature to admit or any other consideration punishment. As one might say in modern slang, because here it goes broken down in English, okay? Adams and Hancock were on the spot. Basically, when you see them, off with their heads. That's basically what he was saying, okay? Now, the threat of the irate governor forced the two men to reach another decision, equally as dangerous. They hurriedly called a secret meeting of their staunchest followers. Here, the mastermind began to take on momentum. After the meeting had been called to order, Adams locked pocket and informed all present that it was imperative that a Congress of colonists be organized and that no man should leave the room until the decision for such a Congress had been reached. Great excitement followed. Some weighed the possible consequences of such radicalism, old man fear. Some expressed grave doubt as to the wisdom of so definite a decision in defiance of the crown. Locked in that room were two men immune to fear. Uh-oh. Locked in that room, Robin Owens, were two men that were they were blind to the possibility of failure. Put your blinders on. Put your blinders on. Put your blinders on. Hancock and Adams, through the influence of their minds, the others were induced to agree that through the Correspondence Committee, arrangements should be made for a meeting for the First Continental Congress to be held in Philadelphia, September the 5th, 1774. Remember this date. It is more important than July the 4th, 1776. September 5th, 1774. Is more important than July the 4th, 1776. If there had been no decision to hold a Continental Congress, there could have been no signing of the Declaration of Independence. In union, there is strength. Before the meeting of the new Congress, another leader in a different section of the country was deep in the throes of publishing a summary view of the rights of British America. He was Thomas Jefferson, Lord Dunmore, representative of the Crown in Virginia, was as strained as that of the Hancock and Adams with their governor. Shortly after his famous Summary of Rights was published, Jefferson was informed that he was subject to prosecution for his treason against the Majesty's government. Inspired by the threat, one of Jefferson's colleagues, Patrick Henry, boldly spoke his mind, concluding his remarks with a sentence which shall remain forever a classic. If this be treason, then make the most of it. It was such men as those who, without power, without authority, without military strength, without money, sat in solemn consideration of the destiny of these colonies, beginning at the opening of the First Continental Congress and continuing intervals for 2 years until, on June the Henry Lee arose, addressed the chair, and to the startled assembly made this motion. Gentlemen, I make this motion that these United Colonies area and the right ought to be free and independent states, that they be absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. Lee's astounding motion was discussed fervently and at such length that he began to lose patience. Finally, after days of argument, he again took the floor and Mr. President, we have discussed this issue for days. It is the only course for us to follow. Why then, sir, do we longer delay? Why do we still deliberate? Let this happy day give birth to an American republic. Let her arise, not to devastate and to conquer, but to reestablish the reign of peace and of law. The eyes of Europe are fixed upon us. She demands of us a living example of freedom that may exhibit a contrast in the felicity of the citizen to the ever increasing Did it pause? Perfect. We're so I just literally shut off. And what's so crazy is we're gonna have to reach out to the cable company because we're actually supposed to have like a thing that when it shuts off, we're supposed to have like a booster, a backup. So I think we're back. And I pray that you guys can hear us. If you can hear us, go ahead and um drop us some love in the chat and let us know that you can hear us. Let me see. Can you guys hear us? Let's just see if you guys can hear us. Okay, we are back. Yep, we're back. All right. So we ended on, for several days it was discussed, altered, and made ready on July the 4th, 1776. Thomas Jefferson stood before the assembly and fearlessly read the most momentous decision ever placed upon paper. When in the course of human events, it is necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of the nature's God entitle them a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. All right, so I think we're still okay. I don't see any. Looks like we're buffering again. Okay. On the screen, it looks like we're buffering. Do you see anybody commenting? Okay, so they can hear us. Okay. All right. So when Jefferson finished, the document was voted upon, accepted, and signed by the 56 men, everyone staking his own life, his decision to write his name. By that decision came into existence a nation destined to bring to mankind forever the privilege of making decisions. By decisions made in a similar spirit of faith, and only by such decisions can men solve their personal problems and win for themselves high estates of material and spiritual wealth. Let us not forget this. So I want you to know, and I think I want to stop there because I don't want to keep reading and we actually miss a lot of this book because I don't even see myself back up on screen. We'll stop right there. We'll stop right there. You can see we're good. Oh, okay. And everyone can still hear me? Okay, you can. Okay. All right. Well, okay, I'm back now. All right. So analyze the events which led to the Declaration of Independence and be convinced that this nation, which now holds a position of commanding respect and power among all the nations of the world, was born of a decision created by a mastermind consisting of 56 men. Note well the fact that it was their decision which ensured the success of Washington's armies, because the spirit of that decision was in the heart of every soldier who fought with him and served as a spiritual power which recognizes no such thing as failure. Note also with great personal benefit that the power which gave this nation its freedom is the same power that must be used by every individual who becomes self-determining. The power is made up of principles described in this book. It will not be difficult to detect in the story of the Declaration of Independence. At least 6 of these principles: desire, decision, faith, persistence, the mastermind, and organized planning. Throughout this philosophy will be found the suggestion that thought, backed by a strong desire, has a tendency to transmute itself into its physical equivalent. Before passing on, I wish to leave you with the suggestion that one may find in this story and in the story of the organization of the United States Steel Corporation a perfect description of the method by which thought makes this astounding transformation. Thought makes this astounding transformation. Thought makes this astounding transformation. So could it be that the problem is not where we live, how much money we have, what we look like? The problem is what we think. Because it says thought makes this astounding transformation. In your search for the secret of the method, do not look for a miracle, because you will not find it. You will only find the eternal laws of nature. These laws are available to every person who has the faith and the courage to use them. So, is the problem that we don't use them? It says the laws are available to every person who has the faith. You have the faith, you have to have faith, and you have to have courage, but you have to use it. They may be used to bring freedom to a nation or to accumulate riches. There is no charge to save the time necessary to understand and appropriate them. Those who reach decisions promptly, I want you to write that in the chat. Those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want, and they generally get it. I'm in business with a young lady named Stanisha Graham, and we're talking about our business. We're talking about ranks. And I said to her, I'm going double black diamond. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care. Like literally, I'm going double black diamond. I don't care what I've done in the past. I don't care what I've had to invest in the past. I don't care what's going on. I'm going double black diamond. Literally, because I believe it. I have faith. I'm determined, and I believe it. I have faith. I'm determined. So I have made a decision. I've expressed my desire. I have faith, persistence, the mastermind, and organized planning now. And now we have to understand in union, there is strength. So we need 100,000 in volume. We either need 100 people to go silver at 1,000, or we need some people that'll say, okay, I'm going gold. I'm going platinum. I'm going diamond. Because we got to think much bigger, much faster for everything that we want. And we cannot just lolly law every day go about, and we continue to keep making the same kinds of goals that we've had before. The problem is too many people make their goals based on what they can see right now. Stop looking at what you can see, because what you can see is crippling you. These men decided that they would give their life, if so be it, for the sake of a nation. We are not even saying give your life. We're saying, what is your desire, your decision, your faith, your persistence, the mastermind, and your organized planning? Because we can accumulate riches when we have freedom based on our thought, which makes this astounding transformation. Those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want, and they generally get it. The leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. But if you're still hemming and hawing, playing it safe, because you're too afraid to stretch again, oh, you're too afraid that somebody might ask you to do something that you don't want to do. That is the major reason why they are leaders. The world has the habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going. Indecision is a habit which usually begins in the youth. The habit that takes on permanency as youth goes through graded school, high school, and then even through college. Without definiteness of purpose, the major weakness of all educational systems is that they neither teach nor encourage the habit of a definite decision. It would be beneficial if no college would permit the enrollment of any student unless and until the student declared his major purpose in matriculating. It would be of still greater benefit if every student who enters the graded schools were compelled to accept training in the habit of decision and forced to pass a satisfactory examination on this subject before being permitted to advance in grades. Can you make a decision and stick to it? Because the world has a habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going. So could it be that the problem is you don't have what you want and people won't follow you and they don't respect you because your words and your actions don't show that you know where you're going? Because people are looking like, you want to lead me, but where are you leading me to? when you can't even stay consistent with something for 30 days, 3 days, let alone 30 days. You want to lead people, and leading people is what's going to help you accumulate wealth and riches, but you can't lead someone because they're wondering, well, where are you taking me to? Because I'm watching. They're watching. The world is watching. The habit of indecision acquired because of the deficiencies of our school systems goes with the student to the occupation that he chooses. If, in fact, he chooses his occupation, generally the youth just out of school seek any job that can be found. He takes the first place he finds because he has fallen into the habit of indecision. 98 out of every 100 people working for wages today are in positions that they held or that they hold because they lack the definiteness of decision. To plan a definite position and the knowledge of how to choose an employer. Definiteness of decision always requires courage. Sometimes very great courage. The 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence staked their lives on the decision to affix their signatures up to that document. The person who reaches a definite decision to procure a particular job and make life pay the price he asks for. Y'all, we have to make life pay the price that we ask for. We have to make life pay the price that we ask for. Does not stake his life on that decision. He stakes his economic freedom. Financial independence, riches, desirable business, and professional positions are not within reach of the person who neglects or refuses to expect, plan, and demand these things that we demand of ourselves. Not demanding from the people around us, but we have to demand that we must look in that mirror and say, this is the day that I step over this line, never to return back to who I was before, because I'm going to have definiteness of purpose. I'm going to make a decision. Today is the day that I decide. That ultimate freedom, right? Financial independence, so does not stake his life on that decision. He stakes his economic freedom. Financial independence, riches, desirable business, and professional positions are not within reach of the person who neglects or refuses to expect, plan, or demand these things. The person who desires riches is in the same spirit that Samuel Adams desired freedom for the colonies, is sure to accumulate wealth. The spirit in which you say it in, the spirit in which you do it in, the spirit in which you agree in. In this chapter of organized planning, you will find complete instructions for marketing every type of personal service. You will find also detailed information on how to choose the employer you prefer and the particular job you desire. These instructions will be of no value to you unless you definitely decide to organize them into a plan of action. Everybody type in the words in the chat, action. And so that is the end of chapter 8. And next week we will begin chapter 9, which is persistence. If you have the book, please make sure you go and start reading persistence. We're going to talk about the 6 symptoms of the lack of persistence. We probably are going to skip around a little bit in this chapter. We're going to talk about how to develop persistence in this chapter, gaining, and then we're going to move into chapter 10, which is going to be the power of the mastermind. This book has, I believe, 15 chapters before we are done, and we're almost there, y'all. So we're at chapter 9. 15, maybe 16 chapters. Let me see. We've got some good stuff. So not much longer before we finish this and we move on to The Mountain Is You. All right. So definitely, those who read this system properly and definitely know what they want, and they will generally get it. We will start chapter 9 next week. Persistence, the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Persistence is the sustained effort necessary to induce faith, which is the 8th step toward riches. So I am so grateful, so happy and grateful that you decided to be here with me and that you are allowing me an opportunity to participate in your personal growth and development. Again, don't hate the messenger, okay? I'm just reading the book. And if you are here, just know that every single Monday we will be here unless it's a holiday, right? For Think and Grow, well, for book club, as we continue to read Think and Grow Rich. Make sure that you subscribe, right? Subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you tag and share all the time. But next week, bring a friend, right? Grab your notebook and a pen because you never know what you're going to hear. You might get some revelation during book club. So subscribe to this channel, you guys. And then you always want to remember that no matter what you're going through in life, you got to remember that you can live again, laugh again, hope again, dream again, and you most certainly can bling again. I want you to have a bling-tastic rest of your evening and a bling-tastic week. Pay it forward, do a good deed, and be kind to one another. Now, listen, for those of you that want to stay connected with me and you want to join my women's group, this is just for the ladies for right now, right? I want you to feel free to join the Beauty, Body, and Bank group on Facebook, www.beautybodyandbank. You'll see the link drop down there. Make sure you copy that link and go and join that page on Facebook. You must answer the questions to be allowed or entered into that group. All of the questions. Don't skip any of them, but answer all of the questions so that you can stay closely connected to me there on Facebook, and you'll be able to join that community so that we can chop it up together, right? We are just beginning to grow that page. So just bear with me, right? As I'm trying to manage my time to make sure that I am incorporating, adding some value in that page as I continue to add value to your life. All right. Until next Monday, you guys, good night and God bless you all.